What's up, guys? Coach B back here with another video. So if you saw my last video, I did defensive tiers. This time I'm doing offensive tiers. So like the defensive tiers, and if you saw my little preview video, I broke them down into 4 categories: point master, dangerous, competent, and back to basic. And within these, I'm also looking for 4 aspects of the offense that kind of help me rank them: elite O-line, trio of weapons, not including quarterback, reliable QB play, and balance. So going from those, yeah, I kind of get the idea there. So I'll start up at the top, the point masters. The Kansas City Chiefs. Don't really need to say much there. I feel like most people kind of accept that they're basically the best offense in the league. You know, they got crazy weapons. They got Patty Mahomes. I really like their drafting of Clyde Edwards-Helaire, however you say his last name. But I think he's going to fit them perfectly. So, you know, they're elite. There's not much arguing there. New Orleans Saints, definitely up there. We'll see what happens with this whole Drew Brees thing. I know he kind of has this whole controversy going on right now, but assuming everything works out and there's no ill will in the team and all that kind of stuff, you know, he'll be there and he should still play good. And, you know, they got their weapons too. Obviously, they got Michael Thomas, top 3 receiver in the NFL. They have Alvin Kamara, who had a bit of a down year last year, but I expect him to bounce back this year. I got Jared Cook as tight end, really good tight end. So, you know, they should have a good year. And then also Taysom Hill is kind of their, like, you know, gadget type player, typically does well for them. Tampa Bay Bucks. Even without Tom Brady, like, if they still had Jameis Winston, I think they would still be pretty high up. You know, though I wouldn't necessarily say Winston is reliable, he's going to give you the yards and points. And now you have Tom Brady, who's still going to give you a bit of yards and points, but also have way less takeaways. I mean, obviously, he's not going to throw 30 interceptions. The one aspect that I worry a little bit about this is, their offensive line is not great yet. They still need a lot of work there. So we'll see kind of what happens in that aspect. But also, you know, Tom Brady always plays well when he has a good running game and can kind of get off play action a little bit too. And they don't really have much of a running game. You know, they don't have a true number 1 running back, in my opinion. I don't think they're going to run the ball that much or that effectively. So we'll see how he does kind of in a more air raid type system, which obviously, you know, he can throw the ball a lot and has done it. But for the most part, especially during season, and less like, you know, not as much playoffs, where playoffs, it's almost always him on his back. So that's what people remember. But like during season, Tom Brady doesn't really throw as much as people think. You know, a lot of times he'll average like 35 throws a game or something like that. And they're pretty balanced, or at least he was when he was with the Patriots. I don't expect that to happen this year. So he may take a few more hits. He'll probably be sacked a lot more, and that could cause a few more turnovers than what we're used to. But they're still going to be a good team. I mean, Chris Godwin and Mike Evans is just a great duo. Plus, right now they have 3 number 1 tight ends. I don't think all 3 will be on the roster. I'm pretty sure at least one of them will be traded or cut. Probably OJ Howard. But even with that said, you know, they have really good tight ends as well. So the last one in the point master category is Baltimore Ravens. Biggest thing with them is honestly just their speed. It's not that their weapons are that crazy. You know, Mark Andrews is a good tight end. Brown is a good receiver. This is one of those probably the only cases where I'll say, including that trio of weapons, Lamar Jackson, just because of his running ability. They also have so many running backs as well, and good running backs, that's going to help them. But you have to add him in because he can be a 1,000-yard rusher easy. So they're just so hard to defend because of that speed and because of that very different style of offense that you're not really used to in the NFL. So they should be good. So going on to the next category, the dangerous category, one of the first teams I have on here is actually the Denver Broncos. And biggest thing with them is, you know, they have ridiculous weapons. So, you know, a nice young tight end, Noah Fant. They have a trio of receivers that are all young and all, you know, have a lot of potential. Cortland Sutton's already showed he could be pretty good. Now they added in KJ Hamler and Jerry Jeudy, I believe, from the draft, who both should be pretty good themselves. Jerry Jeudy, arguably the number one, if not CeeDee Lamb, but one or two depending on how you have him. And so he'll be great. And then, good running backs as well. So their line's not bad. Really, it's all on Drew Lock. If Drew Lock plays well, and I expect him to take a step and play better this year. I mean, he didn't get to play that much last year, and he actually played decent for what he did, but I expect him to really take a step up as his first full year starting. They could be a very good offense. And with the defense they have, they are my sleeper team right now. I believe that they could actually make a run. Next is the Chargers. And the Chargers, I was kind of worried to put up here. I kind of wanted to put them down and competent, but just some of their weapons, I think, can still keep them up there. I mean, they still have two very good running backs. They have some good receivers. They have Keenan Allen. They have Mike Williams. They have Hunter Henry as tight end. My biggest concern isn't even necessarily the quarterback spot. I think Tyrod Taylor is serviceable, and Justin Herbert I don't think is ready, but I think he should be a pretty decent quarterback once he's groomed a little bit. But he definitely really shouldn't play much this year. If he does, not till the end of the year. But it's more their O-line. I don't think they did enough to really address their O-line, so they could have a lot of issues there. But if they can kind of fix their O-line problems, they could be a really good offense. Next would be the Tennessee Titans. We saw them turn it on halfway through the season last year with Ryan Tannehill. I expect Derrick Henry to still have a pretty good year. They have, some good receivers. Their rookie last year, Brown, was good. A few other decent guys have an all right tight end. Honestly, my biggest concern for them is more going to be how does Ryan Tannehill play in his first full year starting for them. Last year he played great, which is cool, but we've seen that countless times where a backup comes in halfway through the season, plays really well, maybe even makes a little bit of a playoff run, and then the next year when he gets that payday and he wins the starting job, he doesn't perform up to the ability he did last year. So we'll see if he does turn it on and still plays well. And I expect him to still play all right. I don't know if he's going to play as well as he did down the stretch last year, but we'll see. I definitely think Tennessee still needs to run their offense through Derrick Henry, though. So I think my next team on here is a little bit of sneaky team. I feel like a lot of people may not really think of them as a top offense anymore, but Minnesota Vikings. They traded Stephon Diggs, which personally I didn't agree with, but I get it. He was upset there. He didn't want to be there anymore, so they had to. But the drafting of Justin Jefferson was great. I think he's going to fit in well there. Obviously, Adam Thielen turned out to be a really good receiver. They still don't have a top-tier number 3, which is worrisome. And, they took some hits overall, but I think their biggest thing is first, Dalvin Cook needs to stay healthy. If Dalvin Cook stays healthy, they will have a good running game. If they have a good running game, their passing game works better with play action. But also the next one, obviously, what everyone always thinks is Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins kind of took a step forward last year, played pretty well. He started out the season rough. First 5 games were not very great, and then he kind of turned it on. If he can play up to his potential, that offense is going to be very potent. If he kind of goes back to his Kirk Cousins ways and drops off, you could expect them to struggle as a whole. So then I have the Dallas Cowboys, which a lot of people may consider them in that point master, especially after drafting CeeDee Lamb. I mean, that receiver core is ridiculous with Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, and Michael Gallup. That trio, and then adding in the fact that they have Zeke, that offense should be top of the league, in all honesty. I'm going to assume that Dak Prescott does get his contract and does play in this case. So it wouldn't be Andy Dalton, it would be Dak. I do think people tend to overvalue Dak a little bit. I feel like a lot of it's more the system, people putting so much attention on Zeke that he can make better plays. So in my opinion, he doesn't deserve the $40 million he wants, but assuming that he is there, I think they'll be okay. Honestly, my biggest concern for them and is going to be a first in a while for Dallas Cowboys in their history, is actually their line. So their line took a small step back, so most people didn't really notice, but their line's getting older. It hasn't changed too much. And they've been really lucky where they haven't had a lot of crazy injuries or anything like that. They lost a couple of their depth pieces there, and I don't think they really did enough to try to improve their line this offseason. So, I mean, really, it just takes one injury and that line could start to rattle away. And with some of the age that they have on there, because remember, a lot of these guys on their line have been playing for a few years, so stuff's bound to happen eventually. That, and I just feel like they're not going to have the same chemistry. You know, that Dallas Cowboys always had some sort of issue, so unless they come out balling right away, I think they aren't going to be as good as people expect them to be, and I don't really predict them to be. If you remember my prediction videos, I think I had them going like 8-8 or something like that. Next would be San Francisco. So honestly, they're another offense I don't particularly like that much. They got a lot of running backs who are solid, but I don't really think they have a true number one. I think their line kind of helped them dominate in that aspect. You know, the loss of God, what's his face? Their receiver that they traded for. I can't remember right now, the speedster guy, but he definitely would help. So that I don't feel like they have enough true receivers right now on their roster. You know, obviously George Kittle's great, but other than that, they don't have enough weapons for me to really be like, oh wow. And I'm not completely sold on Jimmy G yet. If he can do something really good this year, then okay. But honestly, I think most of it's been the system, been the fact that people weren't really taking them seriously. Even till like halfway through the past year, they weren't really actually looking at 49ers until they were like, what, like 8-1 or something like that. So yeah, I mean, we'll kind of see how he turns out this year, but I kind of expect them to take a step back, at least on offense. Their defense should still be pretty good. Next would be Atlanta. Atlanta is another team, crazy weapons. You know, they have a really good duo in Julio Jones, you know, top 3 receiver in the NFL, and Calvin Ridley, probably one of the better young receivers. And now they have Todd Gurley. Matt Ryan's a pretty good quarterback. Their line's okay. Could be a little bit better, but, you know, it's solid enough. One thing we'll see is Todd Gurley's health. Okay. And we'll see Matt Ryan's play. We've seen him. It's been a while since he played that, you know, MVP type season. And I don't know. I think they'll be good. I just don't know if they'll reach what I believe their potential to be is. Now, a team that has crazy potential and very well could be in that point master category, though I think they still need another year more for gelling than pieces, is Arizona. So Kyler Murray, you know, is going into his second year. They have ridiculous weapons. They have DeAndre Hopkins now, you know, number 1 receiver, at least top 3 in the NFL. They have Larry Fitzgerald, who's still really good, even though he's older, still really good. They got their running back now in Kenyon Drake. You know, they got rid of David Johnson, who just didn't fit them. So Kenyon Drake's going to work well for them, as we saw last year. I think they're going to be pretty good. You know, Kyler Murray should take a step forward this year, and I expect them to have quite a few games where they put up massive points. But they're still a rather young team. I mean, other than their receiver position, but they do have some young guys there, but their top 2 guys are a little bit older now. And, you know, DeAndre Hopkins and Larry. But I still think maybe one more year to gel, even though I expect them to probably be a top 10 offense for sure this year. Another quietly good offense is Detroit Lions. You know, they got some really good receivers. Galladay is amazing. I think he's actually like probably a top 10 receiver in the NFL, or at least close to it. Marvin Jones, when healthy, is really good. They got some really good running backs. You know, they got DeAndre Swift now from the draft. They have Kieran Johnson when he's healthy. Their line is all right. Matt Stafford, if healthy, is a good quarterback. So biggest for them is health. If they have good health, they could be a really good offense. But we'll just see in that case. Next one will be Philadelphia Eagles. So they have a really good receiver core. You know, obviously they drafted Jalen Reagor, who I love, awesome guy, freaking speedster. Alshon Jeffries, your big body guy. And then Jackson, who obviously is speedster too, even though he's older. Another thing with them is more of health. Running back wise, they have Miles Sanders, who I like, but I don't know if he's your true like number one type dude. I feel like he's more of a built to be in like a running back by committee type thing. I feel like maybe they should have kept Jordan Howard. They really need a pounder, in my opinion. But they also have a really good tight end as well. So they in Zach Ertz. So I do think that they're gonna have a really good offense, but biggest thing there is health, and also with Carson Wentz, he gets hurt all the time too. Next up, Carolina Panthers. Might be a little bit of surprise there, but I actually think them having Teddy is going to help them out. I mean, obviously Teddy Bridgewater is better than Kyle Allen. Now, he's not as good as top tier Cam Newton, but he's better than hurt, injured, can't do anything Cam Newton. And I think he plays into their strengths. So their receivers are, those quicker type dudes who almost like to me, they almost have like three slot receivers. And but adding them in, with Christian McCaffrey, they need to do a lot of scheming type plays, a lot of underneath, couple shots downfield here and there with all the speed they have, but a lot of like underneath type stuff where the athletes that they have could really use their ability to get some run after catch. And that's what Teddy does. I mean, he's not the fanciest with the arm. He's not the most accurate, but he's solid. He's a very serviceable quarterback, and so I think he's going to help them out. I don't think their defense is going to be very good this year, so they may have some issues as a whole for a team. I don't expect them to be very good as a team as a whole, but I think their offense will be solid. So now dropping on the next level, competent. I'll start off. You got Chicago, who some people may even look at them because last year was so bad and back to the basics. But I think they're going to take a step up. Though they didn't address the line enough, I know Jermaine Ifedi's probably going to be that starting right guard, replacing the retired Kyle Long. But I really like the receiver core. Allen Robinson is a number one receiver. He's arguably top 10. If you're not going to say top 10, you could at least say probably top 15 at like minimum. Like top 15 is like worst for him, but Ted Ginn I like as an ad, even though he's older, but he still had some speed. The drafting of Darnell Mooney, Anthony Miller keeps getting better. I expect him to take a big lead this year. And at least one of those young receivers in Riley Ridley or Javon Wims should step up as well. And they did address the tight end position. I know a lot of people hated Jimmy Graham, but he's going to be solid. He's going to be better than last year. And Cole Kmet should be a really good rookie. So the offense should be well. The biggest question mark, actually for me, isn't going to be quarterback. I think either quarterback, whether it be Mitch Trubisky or Nick Foles, will be serviceable. I actually am leaning on the Trubisky route. I would prefer him. I think he adds more to your team, and I think he just has more potential than Nick Foles. But either way, I think they could do well enough if David Montgomery is the big question there. If he takes off, which I'm kind of hoping he does or expecting him to, the offense can be pretty solid because that team is built for power running with play action passes. That's what they're made for. Staying in the NFC North for next one, Green Bay Packers. So, you think of the Packers, many people may think a little bit better than that competent, more in that dangerous category. But the thing is, he didn't do anything to help the offense. They lost Brian Bulaga. I know they replaced him with, I think, the Lions tackle, but Brian Bulaga was better, so it's a step down to there. They didn't really touch anything for the rest of the offensive line. They didn't get Aaron Rodgers any weapons, really. So, and they lost Jimmy Graham, so they don't really, even though he wasn't the best, they don't really have a tight end either. So they basically have Aaron, the running back, Aaron Jones, right? Whatever, you get the point. And Devontae Adams. That's not going to make a team. Devontae Adams got pretty banged up last year because it was like only through him. And, we've seen Aaron Rodgers get hurt a few times, and we don't know how he's going to play now with the whole situation with Jordan Love on his tail. So I expect them to take a step back this year, and I don't think their offense is going to be very great. Seattle's one of those teams that could be in the dangerous. I really like the receiver core and Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. I think they like to pound the ball, though. They like to run it well. And I feel like their offensive line isn't the best either. It definitely needs some help. I think they get away with it just because Russell Wilson is Russell Wilson and scrambles so well. But I'm not sure if Chris Carson is the answer yet. We've seen some really good things from him, but we've seen some not so good. So I think for them, kind of like the Bears, it revolves around their running back. If Chris Carson can really take up and be that number one guy, no committee, he is the bell cow. They're good. Los Angeles Rams, it's funny thinking them all the way down this slope because just a few years ago they were arguably the best offense. But I think they're going to take a step back. They have two nice receivers in Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods, but they lost Brandon Cooks. Their tight ends are only okay. They lost Todd Gurley. Henderson's nice, but we haven't seen enough of him yet. And Jared Goff, I don't think is necessarily that guy that they thought he was. He put on some good stuff, but last year was not good. The end of their Super Bowl run year was not that good. They were kind of lucky they even got there. I think they're going to take quite a big step back this year, and it's going to kind of surprise some people. So then I got the Houston Texans. They still have potential. I mean, they still have, even though they traded away DeAndre Hopkins, which was dumb, they have some nice guys. Like Will Fuller, when he's healthy, is nice. Fells, their tight end's nice. Now they have Johnson as the running back, Dave Johnson, who's good, really good running back. But I feel like they're kind of in a shift as a team. And from what it sounds like, Deshaun Watson may not be very happy there right now. So we'll see kind of what happens with him. I mean, I expect him to play and everything. He's not going to hold out. But I don't know. When a quarterback's not happy, he often doesn't play as well. But I think with this whole shift that they're doing and kind of the weird play offseason they've had, I think they're going to take a step back as well. Then I have the Pittsburgh Steelers. So they have some really nice weapons. I mean, I like Juju Smith. I like some of their other receivers kind of in the background there. James Conner is a nice running back when he's healthy. Biggest thing, though, with them, and it's kind of like all over their team, is health. I can't really trust them to all be healthy. And it seems that anytime they just have one injury, they're not really built to withstand it. So if they're all healthy, they could be a dangerous offense. But I don't think they have enough depth. So I feel like that though they may start out the year pretty well, come week 8, week 9, they're going to be beat up and you're just going to see them start to drop off. So I think they're going to end up kind of being just a competent type offense. The Buffalo Bills, they should have a really good running game. I expect them to. I think Josh Allen could take another step forward this year. Still be pretty solid. I think what's really going to save them, obviously, is their defense. They have a top-tier defense. My biggest issue is I don't think they have enough true weapons on offense in the receiving category. They have a couple of decent guys, but I feel like they're missing like a true number one, like a full elite receiver. I don't know if maybe they can trade for that or, maybe they even want to take a run on like someone like Antonio Brown who's still available. But I feel like they're like one true receiver away from being able to break out. Cincinnati Bengals, I actually think are going to have a pretty good offense this year. They have some good receivers. I mean, Tyler Boyd is awesome. Probably better at this point than AJ Green just because AJ Green's older and always injured, but AJ Green's still there. Joe Mixon's very nice. They also drafted T. Higgins, who should be a pretty good rookie. He actually might have one of the better years as a rookie receiver just because I expect him to throw a lot with Joe Burrow, trying to get him, full acclimated and all that stuff. And with AJ Green always being hurt and whatnot, he could very well become the number 2 rather quickly. So he could have a pretty good year. And I do like Joe Mixon as a running back a lot. The biggest thing with them is their offensive line, and then it's going to take time for Joe Burrow, though he is probably one of the most NFL-ready quarterbacks I've ever seen. He's still a rookie. It's going to take a year for him to fully get going. But, he should still be pretty good as well. Indianapolis Colts, they have potential to be a dangerous team. Phillip Rivers, I think, is going to have a bounce-back year. I think he'll play pretty good. Marlon Mack's a really good running back. They have probably the best offensive line in all of football. Obviously, T.Y. Hilton's pretty good. Everyone knows about that. I feel like they're missing like a top tier number 2 receiver though. They have some nice guys, you know, they have some potential, but I feel like maybe they're missing stuff. And I think with the new system for Phillip Rivers, it may take a few games to fully get rolling, especially with this whole offseason being messed up right now. So they might start slow and then really be able to click, throughout the end of the year. Um, let's see. So then I have the Washington Redskins, and I think Dwayne Haskins should have a better year this year. I wasn't as high on Dwayne Haskins as a lot of people was coming out of college. So we'll kind of see how he turns out. I think they have some okay weapons. Their team offense as a whole is kind of very average. Adrian Peterson's just super old now. Darius Guice, who's their backup, should kind of be their number one running back at this point. We saw Terry McLaurin, that fourth round receiver, really take off last year, but I don't know. We'll see. I think they'll be okay, but more towards the bottom of the league still, and then we'll see what happens next year. If they end up getting one of the first 3 picks, you might see them take another quarterback, and Dwayne Haskins could be done already. So now going into the bottom category, I have in the back to basics, New York Giants. They have potential to be better. I mean, obviously they have Saquon Barkley, who's great. They have a couple good receivers. I like Golden Tate, Sterling Shepard. They have a nice receiver core, kind of like a quietly good one. Biggest thing for them is I'm not sold on Daniel Jones yet. Danny Dimes, he just has too many turnovers. He fumbles too much, throws some interceptions. He'll make some really nice throws randomly, but I feel like as a whole, they're just going to turn the ball over too much. I don't think their defense is going to help them out at all, so they often will probably be backed up. And I don't know, I just don't think they're really going to be able to break that shell yet, though I think they have the potential to. But they really need to really develop more as a team is the biggest thing, but also maybe work on that line a little bit more too. And I think they need a true elite number 1 receiver. They got some nice guys, but I don't think they have a true number 1. So then I got the New England Patriots. They'll be all right. I mean, they're the Patriots. I mean, in this case, I do have them in the bottom of the league, so definitely worse than what you're used to. But I don't know. I feel like it's going to be really rough going because I don't think they have a quarterback that really could step in. I don't think Jared Stidham's the guy, no matter how much they say he is. Brian Hoyer, we all know, is terrible. I expect them to lean heavily on Sony Michel this year. And then, maybe, one of their receivers or something will have a pretty good year. But I don't know. I feel like they're just missing too much to really take off. And we even know from last year their line wasn't the greatest. So I expect them to kind of be a bottom tier team. And honestly, that's what they want. Sorry, New England fans, you've been dominant for 20 years. But if I'm them, I actually want to tank because you get one of those bottom picks. You can get a top 2 quarterback. And the top 2 are really fucking good this coming up year. Next to New York Jets, Sam Darnold, I just don't know if he's the answer there. I really liked him actually coming out of college, but the more I've watched him play in the NFL, I'm just not sold. They don't use Le'Veon Bell at all. They don't have any elite receivers. I like their defense actually, but I just don't think their offense is going to be very good. The Miami Dolphins, I think have potential to actually be up a category into the competent, but I think it honestly depends on who's at quarterback. I think if Ryan Fitzpatrick is in this year, they'll actually be a little bit better because I think Tua, first, recovering from the injury. I know he said he's been feeling better, but still. But I think Fitzpatrick just fits well with the team. He's kind of that, not really caring. It's probably his last year he's playing. So I expect they would be a little bit better with him in than elsewise with Tua. But Tua, they'll end up getting him in at some point, whether it's, I don't think it'll be week 1, but maybe. But, whether it be week 4, week 8, whatever. He'll be okay, but it's going to be a rough start just because going from such a dominant team as Alabama to where pretty much you just completely outcompete your competition in every aspect of the game to now you're on one of the worst teams in the league is going to be hard for him. Jacksonville, I predict to be the worst team in the league. Their defense is going to be terrible, and I think their offense will be too. Minshew Mania's over. Gardner Minshew's not going to be that good. He's not the guy. They're going to probably draft Trevor Lawrence this year, and he's going to be done. And the Las Vegas Raiders, I think they have some weird potential, but they're kind of another one of those teams I think that's just average all the way around. And we already know that they kind of want to get rid of, what's his face? Their quarterback. David Carr or Derek Carr. So whether it's him or if Marcus Mariota ends up getting it at some point, I don't expect them to be very good. So I feel like they're going to be on that bottom half as well. So there's my NFL tiers, or my offensive tiers. The point master, dangerous, competent, and back to basics. Let me know what you think, if somebody was way too high, way too low. Another aspect that you definitely like to look for in an offense. And yeah, stay tuned for more videos. Thanks for watching.